Well, hello there, class, and welcome to Mr. Fisher Does My Homework For Me because he's so awesome. Okay, two things you need to know before we get started. One is that you need to know how to solve an equation. For example, 2x plus 2 equals 3x minus 1. You should know that. We subtract the 2x from both sides so that we can get the x's on one side. 2 equals 1x minus 1. Add the 1, and you're going to get 3 equals x. That would be your answer. The next thing you need to know is that we need to know that if we were to plug that 3 back in, we would get a value. So 2x plus 2, if I were to plug that 3 back in, would give me 2 times 3 plus 2, which would be 6 plus 2, which would be 8. Okay, let's get started. First, we need to review a little bit. The review for 10.1 is that if these are equal, then these are equal. The arcs are equal. Now, IFF means if and only if, so it's biconditional. Now, 10.2. 10.2 says that if this is perpendicular, then it's going to mean that xz and yz are equal, but also arc xb and by are equal. And then 10.3 talks about fg, which is this distance, and jh, this distance, being equal. Only if these parts here, if it's the same distance from the center points. So let's look at some of the practice for your homework. Now, on your homework, you'll see that it starts off with a pretty difficult problem, and this problem is that if these are supposed to be equal, then what is the measure of x? Now, if you go back to 10.1, it says if these are equal, then these are equal. Now, let's look at what that means on the problem. If this is x, what's this one? X. Now, here's the problem. I still don't know anything about x. What do I set equal? I know that in a circle, the degree measure is 360 degrees. So, x degrees, 64 degrees. And all the degrees in a circle add up to be 360. So, it's going to be x plus 64 equals 360. Now, I know what you're thinking. Mr. Fisher, you can't do that. There's two variables. No, you can, because x plus x becomes 2x plus 64 equals 360. I subtract the 64 from both sides, and I get 2x equals 296. I then divide by 2, and I get that x has to be 148 degrees. So that x on number 1 has to be 148 degrees, can't be anything else. Now let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 is looking for the central angle. Oh no! We didn't have anything about central angles. You're right. But we did have something about arcs. The arc's measure, or the degrees of the arc, is the same as the central angle. So DE is also 116 degrees, which makes x 116 degrees. Now let's talk about number 3. 4 and 4 means that they're equal, so x equals 82. Number 4, again, another one of these type of problems, x plus 90. So x plus 90 equals 360. 2x plus 90 equals 360. I then take 360 and subtract 90 from it, and I get 2x equals 270. Divide 270 by 2, and I get that x has to be 135 degrees. So let's take a look at number 5 real fast. 5 talks about 2x plus 4 and 18, so set them equal and solve. And since these are equal, it means that these two are equal. So 2x plus 1 equals 5x minus 5, and solve. Now let's take a look at the bottom parts. Now, it's important to read the directions before you start anything. So reading the directions, it says the diameter is 12, which means that A to E, or this distance here, which is the radius, is going to be 6. The next thing, C to D, is this distance here. Now, some of the interesting thing to note about that is that if that is 8, these have to be equal. So if that's going to be 8, then C to F and F to D have got to be half of that. So C to F has to be 4. And if CD is 90, these have to be equal, which makes it CB have to be, arc CB has to be 45 degrees. Now we're ready to start, because now I got all my stuff, all my needed information. So let's start with DE. DE is right there. It's half because these are equal. The whole thing is 90 degrees. So half of it is 45 degrees. FD is the distance of the bottom parts. If you'll notice, FD is this, but I know that CD, CD from C to D is going to be 8. Half of it is going to be 4. And the last one. The last one is the hardest because it's not the most obvious one. The last one is going to be a right triangle. To do AF, I have to create a right triangle. So I'm going to redraw this using the same letters. This is my A, this is my F, and this is the D. This is the right angle. A to D is a radius, which means that it is going to be 6. D to F, we already found F and D is 4. This is my X. So I'm going to do 6 squared equals 4 squared plus X squared. Now 6 squared is 36. 4 squared is 16 plus X. 36 minus 16 is going to be 20 equals X squared. Square root it. X ends up equaling, let's put it in decimal format. X is going to end up equal 4.47. And that's the distance of AF. Okay. Let's look at the bottom one. It just kind of cuts off. So let's finish the sentence. So in circle R, TS is 21 and UV is 21. Okay. This has been Mr. Fisher Helps Me With My Homework. I hope to see you guys here next time. Bye.